Tonight on the W2 report, Nexon sues Ironmace. We go over the complaint in 60 seconds.
This is the W2 report with Sanji Homura. Here's Sanji.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the W2 report. This time we are going turkey on Dark Done Quick. I'm joined as always by Lord Crocker Squirrel, who will go over the ground rules.
Rule number 1, don't be a dick. Rule number 2, if you have questions, please refer to rule number 1.
All right. And on your screen, in about 2 seconds from now, you will see the complaint itself. Nexon versus Ironmace. So with that out of the way, let us read from the Gospel of Nexon.
Or not.
Or not.
We can have a look at the complaining thing, but what you're going to get misappropriation of trade secrets under DTSA and copyright infringement. All I'm going to say to that is citation fucking needed. You need to be able to prove that. I don't think you can.
Yeah.
Looks kind of similar, but really not enough to make it worth it. What this says to me is that Nexon has a former employee that helped another company make a fantasy game. Hey, Raz, how you doing, man?
Glad you could.
And Nexon said, "Wait a minute, you're not allowed to do that."
Well, let us go over the complaint. The complaint seeks injunctive relief from Ironmace's alleged theft of P3.
Okay, please note that they canceled.
Yes, they did cancel P3 for reasons we will discuss later. Choi and Park are named as defendants alongside Ironmace. The brunt of the complaint stems from the fact that Choi and Park were former employees of Nexon and used the cover of the pandemic to steal source code from Nexon along with other materials that Nexon allegedly spared no expense to develop for P3.
Now, here's the thing. This is Nexon's version of the whining, which means it was written in the terms they choose to use and in the light most favorable to them. I would, as such, you should really take the initial complaint with a grain of salt.
Right. P3 was a project developed by Nexon from August 2020 to July 2021. Mr. Choi was the director of P3 during the entirety of its development process. But while working for Nexon, Choi targeted members of the P3 team to recreate Project P3 outside of the control of Nexon, so they can allegedly reap the benefits of Nexon's expenditure and time.
Yeah, good luck with that. Again, there's some things you're going to have to prove, and it will be very interesting to see what Ironmace, Choi, and Park's lawyers come up with as far as the response. We deny all of this. We will admit that that these two work for Nexon, but that's the end of it. We suggest that you actually told us we could set the thing up, and then you can get bent.
Mhm. Reading from some notes, continuing on, the P3 team consisted of 20 members, half of which, Choi and Park included, followed Choi out the door to Ironmace. At the same time, Choi was allegedly soliciting team members to leave Nexon. He allegedly transferred over 11,000 Project P3 project files from Nexon to his private server in violation of his employment agreement, company policy, and express instructions from Nexon. It should be noted that the number of files that Choi took from Nexon is an estimate, as we will go over that later. We are at factual background now. Nexon forces his employees to sign documents at least once a year. Scroll up. There we go.
I was scrolling down to get over the hump that was the argument for venue. If I was the district court, the court in the Western District of Washington, the federal court in the Western District of Washington, I'd say you don't go here. Korea's over there.
Right. Nexon forces his employees to sign documents at least once a year. The same employees may not use Nexon's information for personal gain. Nexon forces his employees to sign a no-compete clause good for 1 year after employment at Nexon. Choi and Park joined Nexon on the same day, April 16, 2018, after being previously employed at ThingSoft. Both men were fully aware of their alleged contractual obligations to Nexon.
Alleged. Gotta love it. You are
Choi was.
I have contractual obligations. There you go. Yeah, let's do that.
Choi was selected to be director of Project P3 from the project's announcement until its termination on July 21st, 2021. As director of P3, Choi had a number of responsibilities, including managing teams. Park was the head of the Project P3 design team during the P3 project. His roles include developing marketing strategies to target the Western audience. His departure from Nexon was in August 2021. On May 11th, 2021, Project P3 was given the green light for pre-production, officially kicking off on June 1st, 2021. Now we back up to August 31st, 2020. Choi requested permission from Nexon to export Project P3 source code from his private server to his private server in Korea. And he was granted temporary permission to do so, as the project was in the pitching stages and barely any source code was developed.
See here, this becomes the question: did they or did they not? Was it actually temporary, or did someone sign the authorization under cover of pandemic, thinking, okay, yeah, cool, what could possibly go wrong? I hear somebody, from what I've been told, somebody got fired over that authorization. I think it was their chief technical officer.
Yeah, it was their IT guy.
The top IT guy got fired for signing that. That suggests that it had to be specifically revoked at some later time, and the firing didn't happen until fairly recently, I think.
From August 2020 to January 2021, Choi installed Git on his external server to access the source code that he exported. And it should be made clear at this juncture that the complaint made clear that he was not granted permission to export build files onto the server.
Honestly, he wouldn't have to. He really wouldn't. He could get if he does the project, if he grabs the project files, he can do his own builds. The software, all he needs is the appropriate software tools. Probably, I don't know, Microsoft Visual Studio, which is not illegal to own.
No.
Not even in Korea.
Starting in December 2020 to June 2021, Choi began transferring Project P3 build files without Nexon's knowledge or authorization.
Citation fucking needed.
He used various methods, beginning in April 2021, instructed his right-hand man, Wu Ming Yang, to export build files. Export methods include remote desktop protocol, which was used from December 2020 to June 2021, via FTP in February 2021 to April of 2021, and then he then automated the transfer on a daily basis via FTP from April 2021 to June 2021. By January 2021, Choi instructed the team to start writing source code to an in-house Git that he had installed and mirrored on his external server. Allegedly, no permission was given to use the Git on the external server. February 2021 saw the project pass the prototyping stage and should have known that his approval was no longer valid. February 18th saw a new request from Choi to export the P3 source code, which he was rejected and told to work on the project in person in the office.
Oopsie. Because they have to be able to prove the rest of it.
Yeah.
There's probably a paper trail for that bit.
Yeah, there's a paper trail. Supposedly. In April 2021, Choi set up a new private server in his home. Even though Choi was explicitly instructed not to export P3 data outside the company, Choi continued to do so until June 2021. In fact, between February and April 2021, Choi and Yu Song No transferred P3 files to Choi's external servers, including 8 exports of the P3 build files via FTP. Starting April 6th, after Nexon told Choi he couldn't export the project data, Choi doubled down by stealing an alleged over 2,500 P3 build files to its external server. June 2nd saw the end of Nexon's work from home policy, but after that date, Choi downloaded the source code to P3 18 times. Excuse me. Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Lindgren. The plot continued in April 2021 when Choi told team members that Nexon had no intention to move forward with P3 and to join him in creating a similar project outside of Nexon. A whistleblower told Nexon in June 2021 and caused the company to audit the server logs, leading to the discovery that Choi transferred the data without authorization and demanded Choi turn over the servers. Choi agreed to turn over the servers so that Nexon can analyze what was stolen. In fact, Choi signed an agreement to turn over his servers, but instead instructed an acquaintance to delete the files on his server multiple times so that no trace evidence can be found.
Yeah.
Now we have a decision to make. Now, do we want to argue jurisdiction and venue? Or should we move on to what made the two Dark and Darker and Project P3 allegedly similar?
If we're being honest, we're looking what we have here is a case of two fantasy games with some similar elements. And they went with Wizard. They decided to compare that to Wizards of the West Coast, which is fuck you. That's not even the right name for the company they're talking about. But we have elements that appear in other games: Dark Souls, Bard's Tale, any Dungeons and Dragons game. A tavern is a tavern is a tavern. The Adventurers Guild, such places.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll be right back. You talk about you continue talking about that.
Well, if we're being completely honest here, the jurisdiction and venue argument is intriguing to say the least. They say that because Valve does its business in the Western District of Washington, they could sue Ironmace in Washington State. When this case could have easily, mind you, been handled in Korea. As two of the three defendants, including the plaintiff in this case, happens to be Korean. Let me see here. I am reading. I'm getting ahead. I'm getting ahead of the curve here. Uh,
All right, Mr. Sanji, let's do this properly. They sued the Western District of Washington, which was probably not the smartest idea ever.
Mhm.
As um, a motion to dismiss might actually be granted in this particular case of you don't go here, and just because Ironmace went to Valve doesn't mean that Ironmace or Nexon, excuse me, they actually both have connections to Valve. They publish games there. It doesn't mean that they're going to be able to cross international borders like that, especially not one as thick as the Pacific. That being said, I might buy it, but I don't think so. I also note that they're demanding a jury trial on U.S. taxpayers' dimes for a problem that exists almost solely in Korea. So yeah, let's start there. On top of that, Valve is not a party in this litigation. If Valve were a party in the litigation, they might have some. They might be able to do this.
Paragraph 180 there, sir.
Paragraph number 180.
That should be page 49.
Yeah. See, it looks really similar. Look, that's a treasure chest. That's a treasure chest.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look, a wall and some other wall-like bits. Look, more walls. Just a minute. I'm working on it. Ooh, what's this? All right, where'd it go? It's over here. Paragraph 180. We are going to do a deeper dive in this over on my channel sometime in the near future.
Okay. The paragraph reads, defendants purposely availed themselves to the privilege of conducting their activities in Washington and in the United States. For an instance, according to the Steam website, anyone seeking to distribute games first through Steam must agree to the Steam subscriber agreement. By its terms, the agreement is deemed to have made and executed in the state of Washington, and Washington law excluding conflict of law principles and the Convention for Contracts for the International Sales of Goods, governing all claims out of or relating to the agreement or other related matters. Furthermore, any dispute under the agreement not subject to arbitration is the exclusive jurisdiction in the state and federal courts of King County, Washington. Thus, by distributing Dark and Darker through Steam, the defendants availed themselves of the privilege of entering into contracts in Washington and the United States, and availed themselves to the protection of the laws of Washington and the United States.
See, now here's a different thing. United States Federal Arbitration Act, etc. The thing is that the publishing agreement is actually somewhat more specific than that. In that that's just their ability to publish, not necessarily their ability to publish their whatever it is they're publishing. However, we did get some book here. They're going to mention the subscriber agreement next. Here is let me just grab that here. Let's see if it'll even let me have access to it. Captured April 12th, 2023.
You got the wrong link there, sir.
No, I don't. Partner.steamgames.com? Yes, I did. I got exactly the link I had intended.
Okay.
They make a claim. Let's look. Okay. Again, we're gonna do a deep dive on my channel later. I don't know how much later. I'd like to see the response and/or any motion to dismiss first. Here in Washington, or this motions to dismiss generally tend to be granted, especially if you're talking about people from out of fucking town.
Wouldn't you? I don't want to necessarily frame the question this way, but to be honest with you, it has to be asked. Do you think they're venue shopping here?
Oh, absolutely. The thing is that Nexon's demanding a jury trial, and it's a whole lot easier. It's a whole lot easier to confuse the shit out of a jury than it is to railroad a judge. On the other side, whereas most judges are going to be older and not as how they call that, tech savvy, you're going to have some jurors that are going to go, "Hey, wait a minute," and finding a complete idiot in terms of technology in Western Washington, of all places, more specifically Seattle, is doing it best.
Now we have a question from the chat. The question now is, how much of an identity did P3 have while it lived? Thanks to the Fighter's History lawsuit, identity is what's needed to set a basis for a copyright suit.
Unfortunately, we do not. It doesn't have any sort of a public identity. You'll have to identify what you need as the basis of a copyright suit. I'm not seeing it here. We've got two games. One of them includes campfires. They both include campfires, where you can rest and restore your health, which is the thing that was claimed. And they have treasure chests. Don't ask me how ubiquitous those fucking are. RPGs are known as murder hobo simulators for a fucking reason. And then there's a tavern where you can pick up party members and then go visit the dungeon. Well, that lets out what, 80% of all fantasy RPGs?
Right.
Think about this for 5 seconds.
But to kind of play devil's advocate here, and I'm not, don't take this as a sign of I'm defending Nexon here, but wouldn't the expression be greater than the sum of its parts?
Almost always.
Now, if we took the treasure chest, the rogue, the barbarian, what have you, that Nexon copyrighted in February of 2023, and we went over this, and we went over this in
zombie. Wow, look! I could come. I think this one's actually on the Unity store right here. This one here. There were a lot of placeholder graphics to be had. Then you got this Skelly here. There's a link to that. Skelly wizards with a stick. They don't look as similar as Nexon seems to be claiming. Look, a mimic. Wow, mimics are a thing. That's the inside of the mimic's mouth. And then there's the difference between a piece of a piece of concept art, and an actual 3D model. They're going to look fairly similar anyway.
Right.
Again, piece of concept art versus actual 3D model, which means somebody put some fucking work into this. K-Troll. That K-Troll is actually a 3D model and does not look all that much like this one. Kinda, sorta, maybe. But it's still been modified from its original form. There are 2 doors that look similar. Woohoo! How about you photograph them from the same angle? That would help. They look similar, and they probably are. But are they this? Is that the same piece of mesh? Probably not. Here is your campfire thing. Look, people by the campfire. Red Dead Redemption 2. Your time is up. Look, a torch. Whereas P3 Project kind of looks a little on the dark side, we got a much brighter dark look here for Dark and Darker, and the idea that that a torch would illuminate a dark place.
We have questions.
There are lots of places and questions. Also includes the torch-related game feature that allows players to adjust ability by turning on or off the torch. Hello. Lots of games do that. Here's your chest. Here is your treasure chest. They are definitely not the same critter. But they were also talking about an animation, and that could probably be replaced quick enough. Unless it's merely substantially similar. Which again, we're talking about a bunch of employees from the company in question. And these people and Ironmace didn't appear until when?
October 21.
Because I don't remember hearing of anything about Dark and Darker until October or November of 22. Ironmace started to exist in 21, but they didn't make any sort of major might have started existing in 21. They didn't make any sort of public anything really until late 22. That's more than a year since July of 21.
Yeah.
So there goes your non-compete clause. The first level, okay. So larger dungeon space to smaller dungeon space as it gets harder. This is not uncommon either. Anybody remember like the Resident Evil movie or Resident Evil 0 the game? You went from a large area to a small area to a smaller area to a little bitty lab way the fuck under Raccoon City. Let's do that. Copying character classes. They can make that claim anywhere.
Right.
Nope. Let's go back up then. We got all of that bit. Oh, there we go. The Ranger from P3, which looks like the Ranger from fucking Diablo, and the Ranger from Dark and Darker, which has a similar but not quite the same look. Okay, Rangers and Traps, like in the level, and folded knee-high boots. So there are some folks in the 13th century that would like to have a word. Okay, here are the Rogues from P3, Dark and Darker, and Wizards of the West Coast. Yeah. Let's do that. Okay. Wizards of the West Coast does not exist. A, because it's Wizards of the fucking Coast. And our art here for our P3 Ranger is only really similar insofar as it has a cloak with a hood. But then so does our Drow lady here from Dungeons and Dragons, and this one here is actually 5th edition artwork, if memory serves.
Yep.
There we have a wizard from P3, the wizard from Dark and Darker, who looks considerably more like Gandalf. All he has to do is gray out the guy's beard, and we're all set. And one of the Wizards of the West Coast. J.R.R. Tolkien would like a word with you, Nexon. Carries the spell book to cast spells more way. No shit, Sherlock. Okay, let's go with. Ooh, is this the fighter? Yes, the fighter. Okay, dude in fucking plate armor. Dude in plate armor with a helmet. Neither of which looks identical. And then this guy here's got scale mail on. They cherry picked. The shape of the shields is different. Hanging pouches, one on the shoulder, one over here, of course. And then a pack for the loot. Draped over ragged armor. Well, you know what? If you have a pack of skellies with gas that's decided it wants to eat you for fucking lunch, your armor's gonna look pretty ragged too, isn't it? Ragged armor, hanging pulses, and a bulky sack to hold items from the game. An old and beaten wooden metal shield. Okay, wood and a metal shield. No.
It's my phone in there.
You just put your phone in there?
I don't know what it is.
I don't think so. You had it in your hand a couple of hours ago. All right. As well as a breastplate. This thing right here. Creases, which is actually, he's got plate creases. That creases here are not even remotely similar. That's all pad. And armor with leather straps. I'm sorry. Did anybody actually look at the way plate mail is actually fucking constructed? It's plates with leather straps, usually over chain and padding. Here is our cleric. Okay, we get dude with a chainmail cloth, the metal armors, the protective clothing, raiments, and a pair of boots. Yay. Also, this guy, our Dark and Darker critter, is left-handed. And that sort of flanged mace was actually quite popular in its day. As opposed to Wizards of the West Coast. We have a dwarf with a hammer. Yeah, let's go there. Frayed tunic. Frayed tunics are going to... Frayed anything is going to be common in an adventure. Think about it. Bag and rucksack to held items. Spell book on the waist. You're a matron. You're going to have those things. It wouldn't be a spell book anyway. It would be a prayer book because clerics are religious by nature. Let's see. Oh, the barbarian. Yep. We got this guy here who's got his big axe. This guy's got his big axe. It looks like he just stepped off of a Scandinavian battlefield from about 500-600 years ago. And then we have the lumberjack by Wizards of the West Coast. Yes, Lendragon. They are absolutely. They're all rip-offs of the D&D stuff. Wizards of the Coast. Watsy, not Woutsy. Not Wousy or Wouse, however you want to do that. the barbarian. Viking in style. Identical facial expression. Viking inspired beard. Okay. First off, you got to have a place to put your hair. That's just all. It's all bullshit. And long, natty hair. It was actually pretty common at that time. You know, at the time you're talking about. Just what the unholy fuck.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go with the realistic version of this shit, then you got to look at any that you have to sue everybody that's ever done fantasy.
Yeah, and the judge ain't gonna allow that.
Well, the judge might, but it's a bad argument. But this is a bad argument. It's a terrible argument. It is absolutely ridiculous. So, rogues. The fifth a rogue. See? And we do the same thing. Here's the P3 Ranger, the Dark and Darker Ranger, and the Dungeons and Dragons Ranger, and a fucking elf. Let's see. There is no existing trope in Dungeons and Dragons or video games that only barbarians can Rangers can set traps, and only thieves and rogues can pick locks. Guess what?
That ain't true.
That's a lie. And that's an extremely pernicious lie, which makes all of this fuckery. Only the barbarian can break down a door. Why? Because the barbarian on the whole is stronger and more pissed off than the fighter. The fighter probably could if he tried hard enough. A barbarian could just see ya.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you take a barbarian. This is not the first time we've actually had that. The first game I ever played that had that option was Bard's Tale 3. A barbarian could break down the doors, but everybody else had to make a very severe strength check. But the barbarian could just do it. Okay, unique character skills. No, that's not. Those aren't unique. The P3 frying, yeah. Exhibit K, the P3 frying pan and the Dark and Darker frying pan. So yeah, that's a thing. So we are definitely going to have to do a deep dive on this later, but
yeah, I think we are running out of time today.
We are absolutely running out of time. We'll do a whole reading deep dive on my channel when we have a few hours to blow, and more people to snark at it. Because, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Dark Souls. You owe Nexon money.
Allegedly.
Is why.
All right, folks.
Also, these poses are common. These poses are common for people sitting on ground.
Mm.
Yeah, you sit down, you cross your legs in front of you, and you just kind of sit forward. Or you rest your arm on your knee and then put your head down on it. Yeah, that's a thing. Oh, look, a corridor. I'm not even sure what they're talking about. Oh, I see. These are rolls of bandages. I'm sorry. I have rolls of bandages in my desk that look like that. In my desk. See, what Nexon wants to do before they do any other stupid shit is get a copy of Dark and Darker and give them to the forensics to the forensic IT guy that can actually pull the files apart and compare the mesh. That's as close as you're going to get to proving anything.
Right. And I don't think they can.
He expresses that idea by turning the gameplay screen in grayscale. That's for stealth mode. No, Thief did that first. The Thief games did that. Several others have done that too, now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look. People gather at a tavern. What was it? There was a video game here actually, it was a few years ago. I didn't give it the best review because I didn't actually like it. Give me just a minute because it actually laid out almost exactly that way. 5 or 6 years ago, I think. Okay. What was it? Where'd it go? Doop. That's not it. Is that it? No. No. Come on. Where'd it go? No. God damn it. Where'd it go? Is that it? I think that's it. Click. This is from back in 2018. Kings and Heroes.
Way above my pay grade eventually.
Huh?
Way above my pay grade eventually.
Well, here's the thing. Kings and Heroes, you start out at a tavern, and once you've got your people together, you rock your asses off to the dungeon. There is no distance in between. Here, for those of you who are easily amused, I'm going to. This game is no longer available on Steam, but its release date is November the 16th of 2017. We know this is actually before the pitch started for
P3.
For P3. There is the link. Yes, I popped it straight in as the W2 report, but yeah. Kings and Heroes is no longer available on the Steam store. Okay. So yeah, it was rough. It was rough at the time. It's been abandoned since. I was not amused with it at launch. I did a pre-release review of it because fucking reasons is why.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not think highly of it. View your review. And here's the sad part: is that I posted this and then put in a comment May 31st of 2016. And here is that link. Come on. See, there it is. So we are still talking about, the middle of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an EA review. Oh, even better if you guys go. No. Copy. I know, right? Oh, geez, don't click. That link is not what you're looking for. Hello? If you want my actual opinion on it, Fickety-doo. There. Don't forget to like and subscribe, folks.
Yeah. In the meanwhile, I think it's time we wind this down. We do promise you a deep dive into this lawsuit a little bit later. And until then, I don't think we should consider the matter closed because I definitely want to get my hands on the response.
Because I want to wait for the response before we do a deep dive. But if it's not coming in quickly, then we may go over this with the finest of Nitcombs.
Yeah.
By the way, that video is 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Bring on the Crocker Squirrel. Let there be squirrel. I did not.
So let us close with a bit of admin before we go. For those of you who are easily amused, I put in an application to perform the W2 Report Alive as part of a tour. And I am sad to report that we are only doing one show this year, allegedly. So if you're in Dallas between the dates of July 28th through July 31st, please stop by, give us a hello, because we may be performing in concert at Anime Fest in 2023.
Just like we did last year.
Yes. So we are looking for guests. If you know somebody who might be interested in joining us for this little show, please drop them a line in the comments. But until the next time we see you, beware, the tax man cometh.
Looking back on a war, all of those we have lost, could we have done any more to prevent the death of friends? Whoa, whoa, This is not the way the world should be. The destruction of so many lives. Why was it you who had to go to leave us broken and need to grieve? You, my friend, who taught me all that I know. Why must you leave our side? A bittersweet victory. I feel
Hello, folks. This is Morgan Freeman. This concludes our broadcast day. I'm Morgan Freeman. Good night.